I'm sure you all remember this iconic moment. Well, the guy who conducted the interview, Andrew Ross Sorkin, has just shared some new thoughts on a podcast.
So I think a lot of people thought it was wild from the outside. And I don't want to say I didn't think it was wild. I recognized it was wild. I wanted to show the true Elon. I wanted you to see Elon, the person. And because Elon is 3 or 4 people. And I thought, okay, Walter Isaacson had just written a biography of him. And I thought, we're going to do this in real life. People are going to see all the different versions of Elon over the course of an hour and a half period. And even when he was upset, I thought maybe we'd get to that towards the end. I did not know that we'd get there as quickly as we did.
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go f*** yourself.
But
go yourself. Is that clear?
And so in that moment when he's cursing, about the advertisers, some people were very upset with him. They couldn't believe he was saying. I didn't feel that way at all. I felt like, okay, I've known him for a long time. I felt like he was coming from sort of a tough place. He was so upset. And I like to think I'm very empathetic. I mean, I'm always trying to put myself in other people's shoes. And I thought, okay, we're going to take this and we're going to figure this out. We are going to make this work now. And in that moment, it was like, how can I meet him where he is? Not where I want him to be, maybe where the audience wants him to be, but like, it's my job in this moment to meet him where he is and figure this out. There was a pivot. We sort of turned in that moment to talk about, and this goes a little bit to the prep. I had found this quote where he had said that his mind was like a storm. And I thought, okay, this is the moment I drop that in the conversation. He was frustrated, he was upset, and I thought I could actually bring him back by saying, okay, look, I remember, you said at one point that your mind was like a storm. Let's talk about that. He said, my mind is a storm. I don't think most people would want to be me. They may think they want to be me, but they don't know. They don't understand. What did that mean? And actually, in a weird way, it sort of settled him. And then it became very introspective very quickly, where all of a sudden he got into what that even meant. When people try to really understand you, I think that there's a lot of this comes from some other place. And I want to talk about that. What do you think that is?
we should need like a psychiatrist couch here or something.
And you gave the audience an opportunity to empathize in a weird way, right?
Yeah.
You explained him or gave some context to him.
Well, that's what I'm always trying. Look, we're all humans. And I think like the news business across the board, oftentimes everybody feels like a caricature. They feel like it's black or that it's white.
Yeah.
Everything's gray. Everybody's got their own demons. Everybody's got all sorts of things going on inside. And I think if people can see the other person as a person and not some big, powerful anything.
Yeah.
So interesting to hear from Andrew Ross Sorkin where he was coming from. And also that iconic moment. You got to give credit to Musk. Obviously, he wears his heart on his sleeve. But at that point in time, many corporations, including Disney, were attempting to blackmail X and Elon Musk by pulling advertising to financially harm the company for political and or ideological reasons. You have to respect somebody like Musk who will stand up to bullies, will say what's in his mind. Consequences be damned. It's called courage, something exceedingly rare, strangely enough, among people who have fuck you money, who are so often unwilling to say fuck you when it's appropriate. What's the point of having fuck you money if you're not willing to say fuck you? Of course, the real trick is being willing to say fuck you even before you have the FU money. And of course, people who lack this very trait, courage, hate to see others demonstrate their courage. Cowards are repulsed when they see courage in someone else. Saw this fascinating clip on X too, ties in nicely to what we've just discussed.
To live and espouse a worldview that is universally disliked, that's iconic. I'm really interested on this pure narrative level in what Elon Musk is doing because it's unconcerned with the traditional hero trajectory. Like, it's almost Greek and this idea of breaking societal rules, if you will, that you get to some platonic ideal, right, that is worth more than acceptance. All stories have in common the idea of resilience, right, that the character will overcome these obstacles and things are not working. And there isn't enough knowledge and enough power to go where one must go or one has been impelled to go and keep going anyways, right? So this idea of resilience and to keep going anyways, even though the obstacles are getting enormous, I think inspires that begrudging admiration. None of this is a moral evaluation, right? No one cares what I think, what's good or bad on a sort of personal moral level. But on a narrative level, I think it's absolutely fascinating that you have someone willing to step out on such limbs all the time. You cannot have a good narrative without an active character. There's no one that sits around and thinks their way through problems. Narrative is fear made conscious and conquer through action. And it feels good to see a version of the world play out where that which you're afraid of actually doesn't happen because you have had agency in defeating it. Things don't happen to you. You act against obstacles. And as you do, require knowledge. With knowledge comes power to then effect the outcome.
Being willing to repeatedly go out on a limb is the story of Musk's life. One quote really stood out there. The fact that these actions inspire begrudging admiration. We often see this manifest in different ways depending on the mentality of the people in which this begrudging admiration appears. For example, just hypothetically, you might see somebody exhibiting this begrudging admiration in the form of perma-hating Elon Musk and spending all day on Reddit and Blue Sky talking about how Elon bad, Elon Nazi, Elon this, Elon that. Conversely, it may manifest itself in somebody who's suffering from a lack of self-worth, repeatedly shorting Tesla stock. Others may relentlessly embarrass themselves at every opportunity, explaining why Tesla's XYZ competitor in this particular thing, whether it's an electric vehicle, whether it's autonomy, whether it's energy storage, doesn't matter, is obviously better than Tesla, but everyone's too dumb to figure it out. May manifest itself as an allegedly unbiased car review channel, providing their audience a supposedly objective review in which a Tesla wins on just about everything versus a so-called competitor. Then the final verdict at the end, well, despite the fact that the Tesla crushed it on all of our objective categories, we don't recommend the Tesla, you should buy the other thing. And then, of course, getting found out, called out, and then blaming your editor for making a mistake that somehow changed the verdict in the video. By the way, if you think I'm actually referring to a specific channel, I totally am not referring to CarWow. Oh, did I say that out loud? Oops, I meant to be a little bit more vague, aren't I? I've referred to these folks as confused admirers. Often, the biggest haters are the biggest admirers. They're just begrudgingly admiring. And they're confused. I think it's fair to say that Elon Musk doesn't actually have any haters. He simply has admirers and begrudging admirers, confused admirers who spend their days thinking about the guy, talking about the guy, hating on the guy, quote unquote. Some of these confused admirers may even spend their days throwing inflatable dolls in front of Teslas at the last minute to try and catch something happening so they can post on X about how dangerous FSD is and that it should be pulled from roads. Not that I'm referring to anyone in particular. Wink, wink. I got news for you guys. If you spend even a meaningful fraction of your time proactively, quote unquote, hating on somebody, trying to bring them down, drag their reputation through the mud, signaling to others that this person should be dragged through the mud. They're bad, they're a fraud, they're a liar, they're this, they're that. If you spend any of your time, which you can't get more of, it's your goddamn life. If you're spending your life, if you're trading your life in any meaningful amount, trying to attack somebody, slander them, bring them down, deep down, you actually admire this person. That's the only reason that you would trade any portion of your life, to think about or discuss them. Now, you probably can't handle the truth. That's why you think you're a hater, but the truth is, deep down, you actually admire this person. It just doesn't sit well with you. Probably because if you accept that you admire them, you'd have to look inward and see the traits in them that you admire that you lack in yourself, and it's too hard to sit with that. Therefore, no, what are you talking about, bro? I just hate Elon. The truth is, if you really were a hater, the ultimate form of hate is to completely ignore. But you can't let go of the bone. If somebody told you never talk about this person again, and he couldn't do it, you don't hate them. You guys remember recently Elon Musk accurately referring to Arse Lewis and ISIS as corporate terrorists, the proxy advisory firms? Well, the Trump administration doesn't fuck around. Check this out. White House explores rules that would upend shareholder voting. Officials discuss executive order to limit influential corporate terrorists, also known as proxy advisors, and index funds, such as BlackRock. Let's read more. Posted via Sawyer Merritt. Trump administration officials are discussing at least one executive order that could include a broad ban on shareholder recommendations or an order blocking recommendations on companies that have engaged proxy advisors for consulting work. Now, for those that don't know, these corporate terrorists de facto control the largest companies in the United States. Yet they have no skin in the game. They do not own any shares. Yet these dimwits make recommendations to big index funds, pension funds, and so on that own enormous shares of companies. For example, BlackRock, Vanguard Group, and State Street together combined own about 30% or more of many of the largest US companies. E.g., if they vote their 30%, this can completely shift the outcome on a vote. So these proxy advisory firms, also known as corporate terrorists, advise big investors, who may own as much as 30% or more of a company, on how they should vote on proxy matters. Many of these big institutional investors then follow the recommendations of these corporate terrorists. The corporate terrorists themselves have no skin in the game, and if their recommendations harm the company, they are not personally affected whatsoever. This also gives these big investors a get out of jail card. Well, we didn't provide any reasoning or rationale for our voting because we outsourced our thinking to the corporate terrorists instead. It's completely insane. I discussed this a few weeks ago. It's absurd that entities that have no skin in the game, who are absolutely not accountable whatsoever, can make recommendations to big investors, and then the big investors will outsource their thinking and decision making and vote according to the suggestions of these left-hearted, mostly woke, mostly brain-dead, mostly corporate terrorists, also known as proxy advisory firms. It's a scam. As I said weeks ago, if you're a big institutional investor and you own a bunch of shares and you're going to vote, you should have a responsibility to explain your rationale for why you're voting the way you're voting to your investors, period. Be responsible and accountable. Otherwise, abstain. And personally, I actually don't believe that these big institutional investors should be voting their shares because, as I've said, they're not actually the shareholders in a meaningful sense. Technically, on paper, they may quote-unquote own the shares, but only so they can produce a product, e.g. an index fund, for investors to invest in. The S&P 500 doesn't give a flying fuck how any one of those 500 companies actually performs. It simply tracks the index of the 500 funds weighted based on market cap. The end. One measure being discussed would require these index fund managers to mirror their votes in line with clients who choose to vote. Now, whether or not anything happens, who knows? But this is great to see the Trump administration very active, and almost certainly this has come to light after the recent Tesla shareholder meeting, including Elon's proposed and now approved 2025 CEO Performance Award, which ISIS and Ars Lewis both recommended against approving, despite the fact that it is directly in line with shareholder interests. So let's recap. These fuckfaces, the proxy advisory firms, tried to harm Tesla and attacked Elon Musk, and now they may be about to find out. Speaking of trying to attack Elon Musk and harm Tesla shareholders, fucking around and finding out, Coinbase has officially left Delaware for Texas. Congratulations to Kathleen McSee next Tuesday. The fallout from robbing Tesla shareholders of their will twice, spitting in the face of Tesla investors, and attacking Elon Musk for political gain. All-time backfire. Bill Gurley reposting this news. I'll say it again. Boards that don't move could be sued in Delaware for staying and exposing shareholders to uncapped securities claims. Joe Gebbia, Tesla board member, ex-Airbnb, one of the three founders, reposting this from Bill saying, the McCormick effect is picking up steam. Musk also chimed in response to Bill, Delaware needs to make major changes immediately or continue to lose its single biggest asset, which is being the incorporation state for most companies in America. So today's episode could have been titled Fuck Around, Find Out. Try and blackmail Elon Musk by pulling advertising for political purposes. He'll tell you to get fucked. Try and rob Musk of fairly earned compensation. He'll tell you to get fucked and then move Tesla's corporate headquarters out of Delaware to Texas. Try to fuck Musk or Tesla over by advising big investors to vote against their own interests. He'll call you a corporate terrorist accurately, bring a lot of attention to these corporate terrorists, and next minute the Trump administration will start sniffing around and deciding whether or not you should be allowed to engage in such corporate terrorism. Imagine how much better things if more people had a backbone like Musk. Want more content? Early access? A bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 has been part of my daily health protocol for almost half a decade. It's packed full of vitamins and minerals and helps me fill in nutritional gaps while supporting energy, digestion, and immune function. It also has prebiotics and probiotics to promote gut health. I take my health very seriously, and so should you. Try AG1 today by visiting drinkag1.com/SMR or click the link in the pinned comment and enjoy a free welcome kit with vitamin D3 plus K2 and AG1 travel packs. That's drinkag1.com/SMR.